channel, and I know it's been a while, and if you want to skip ahead, I'll put a timestamp of whenever I'm not given an excuse on why I haven't been uploading. I was gone for a week. I didn't have my microphone with me. I wasn't able to record. Plus, the recent video I tried to upload took about 2 hours to just export where I was staying at. So internet was not good. It was just not, I was not able to post. If you do want to see me post a lot more, I have been posting a lot on TikTok. My TikToks are always linked into the bio. Feel free to go check it out. Check out the Twitter, whatever you would like to do. But I have plenty of video ideas. This week I'm dedicating a lot of this week to mainly making videos. And I will be gone next week. I'll be out of the country, so there's going to be a set video. So if I miss something, if Kyrie gets traded to the, I don't know, the Lakers, the Knicks, if Kevin Durant gets traded somewhere else, I won't know about it or be able to record about it. I might be able to post a TikTok. I'm just not sure I will be out of the country, but I'll be trying to get videos out every other day for the next 2 weeks. But let's get straight into it. I thought the best way to kick it off, as someone that has talked about the Rockets all over this channel, and I don't plan on stopping because it's my channel and I'll post what I would like to. And also, because I already made a video talking about Paolo Banchero's fit with the Rockets, he's not a Rocket. He is not a Rocket. In a shocking turn of events, somebody that I have been very vocal about and very honest that I haven't been a huge fan of. I did not think Jabari Smith was the best player in this draft. I didn't think he was the #1 overall pick. And it turns out he wasn't. Now, he is on my roster now, and he is someone that I have to accept that is one of my favorite players now. I have to accept that Jabari Smith is on the Houston Rockets. And honestly, I'm not mad at the fit because at the end of the day, I wanted one of the top 3 guys. I wanted either Chet Holmgren, I wanted either Paolo Banchero or Jabari Smith, and I got one of them. So I'm thankful from that sense. So by all means, I'm not mad at the picks. I'm not mad at Tari Eason or Taitai Washington, but I'll talk about all 3 separately. But of course, let's start off with Jabari Smith and how he fits with the future of the Houston Rockets. I don't really need to go through all of the stats and everything and his intangibles. All you gotta know, this is a 6'10", 6'11" power forward who is a sniper and a potential matchup nightmare everywhere you go. He is the perfect 5 on a small ball lineup, and if you want to call it a small ball lineup. And he's a good fit with Alperen Sengun, who is a guy that I think people are kind of blowing over as a potential trade piece in a future package, but I really do think Alp has some real potential in this league, especially next to a guy like Jabari Smith, who I feel like he needs a lot of playmakers to be successful. Jabari Smith is not a guy I want to hand the ball off to and go create his own shot. He took a lot of difficult shots in college. That was one of my biggest red flags with him, is he was able to shoot over a lot of smaller defenders, which is something that you like to have, but I didn't want the Rockets to really rely on it. And now you have Kevin Porter Jr., who's a demon when it comes to the pick and roll, and I think that's where he's going to be the most effective. I really do think the ceiling and what I like the most out of Jabari Smith is a Jaren Jackson Jr. kind of role. I don't know if on the defensive side of the ball he is as good as he was coming out of college when I believe Jaren Jackson came out of Michigan State. But I don't think he's on that same level, but I do see that same profile of a player. Maybe a little bit more upside for Jabari Smith. Obviously, he's the 3rd overall pick. But I do like this fit. Honestly, what I wanted for this Rockets draft was as much defensive versatility in the forward position. That's been the biggest weak point last year, other than probably big man defense, because Christian Wood was not as good of a defender. And I'll make a quick side bit about the Christian Wood trade. I didn't want to make a whole video about it. I made, I think, maybe 1 TikTok about it. I think it wasn't a bad trade for the Rockets. I think Christian Wood just did not fit their timeline. He was not worth the money that they were paying, and I think they wanted to go with the big men in the future. Even next year's draft, unless Kevin Porter Jr. does not work out and we end up getting a guy like Scoot Henderson, I don't think this team's going to be competing for a play-in spot, but they could be around that 10-12 range about seed. I don't want this team to have the worst record in the league by any means, because I do want them to start competing or attempting to compete relatively soon. But Kevin Porter Jr. is a pretty solid playmaker. Alp has made some fantastic passes in his rookie season. I really hope they kind of lean more into his playmaking, especially being able to get the ball over to Jabari Smith, because I feel like catch and shoot threes is what Jabari Smith is going to be really good at in this offense. Add a couple of ISO post plays where he's able to create his own shot and let him develop being able to put the ball on the ground a little bit. But I don't think they're going to have to lean on him as much offensively. I think defensively is where Jabari Smith is going to be the most useful when it comes to this Rockets team. Also, I do apologize if you do hear rain. It is pouring where I'm at right now. And if you hear thunder, just so be it. I hope the background music will be enough to where it'll minimize any kind of sound that you'll be having in the background. But I love this pick. I think I don't love the upside. I think that you kind of know what you're getting unless I'm completely wrong. I've watched a lot of Jabari Smith tape, and I like what I see. All I wanted was one of those top 3 picks. Of course, I wanted Paolo Banchero because I thought him and Jalen Green would be a good match. But I didn't want them to try to get a number 1 guy. I understand a lot of people, when you're in this kind of position, you have the worst record in the league. I do think Jalen Green is the number 1 guy, and you just want to get pieces around him. And I think Jabari Smith is the perfect potential number 2 that you could have on a championship winning team. And so I think going into the future, this is probably the best pick. I just wanted the more upside with Paolo Banchero. But let's talk about the next pick, Tari Eason, a forward out of LSU who has a ton of defensive versatility potential. Tari Eason was probably my favorite pick of the draft so far because the Rockets have a ton of draft capital, obviously, moving forward. And I'm kind of excited if the Nets do fall apart. I'll make a whole video about it on how the Rockets potentially could win this James Harden trade overall, which is something that not a lot of people were expecting. They have so much draft capital going into the future, and if they start to compete, they're not going to be losing a lot of draft position if the Nets blow everything up, but nothing is confirmed yet, so I don't want to really talk about that yet. Tari Eason has a ton of potential for this team. I think he fits perfectly into any lineup that you try to put him in. I think obviously on the offensive end, you want to see some more development. I feel like he's a more polished version than Usman Garuba, a guy that I want to see get more minutes into the future, but I don't know if Steven Silas is going to give that to him. He might end up being in the G League for another year, which concerns me because I feel like he might end up in another trade piece. But I do love what Tari Eason brings to the table. As long as he can consistently shoot the 3 ball, this is going to be a good fit. I think defensively, he could be a monster, almost a PJ Tucker kind of role, which is kind of a lazy comparison for a forward. But this guy, I loved coming out of college. I like that we got 2 SEC guys, especially with how good they... 3 SEC guys, which is kind of funny. I think this guy has a ton of potential. It's kind of hard to project where he's going to fit in the lineup. There are so many forwards that needed... especially if they get off of Eric Gordon's contract. I think the forward position was the biggest weakness and a lot of versatility. When we were running lineups with, I think David Nwaba, I just didn't want to see that from a young team like this. I do think that in free agency, I wouldn't mind if the Rockets got a couple of older guys to help mentor, but aren't consistently in the lineup. I understand. I think Silas honestly ran a lot of veteran lineups just so we would lose some games, it felt like, because I think the plus minus with that older lineup was just terrible. And I think Tari Eason is a guy that he's not going to demand the ball. He can play fantastic defense. And I think that's the biggest thing that they wanted from this draft. And as much as Paolo Banchero was really interesting, defense from Jabari Smith, he has a lot more versatility. I think he's much more of a polished defender right now and has a lot more upside as a bigger defender. Plus, Tari Eason is a guy that you could throw into almost every lineup in a small ball lineup 5, potentially a small ball lineup 4. And I think he would hold his own. I don't think he'd dominate, but I think he would definitely hold his own. And I think he's by far my favorite pick because I think his floor is fantastic. I really do like what the Rockets did with this draft. I understand a lot of people think they got hosed with the Paolo Banchero fit. I think, honestly, it's what they needed from it. But let's talk about another point guard who I think is the most raw player that they picked out of everybody, even more than Tari Eason, in Taitai Washington, the point guard out of Kentucky. Here's my thing with Taitai Washington. I think Taitai is a project player. I think he's going to end up being in the G League a lot more often. Right now, I see him slotted as our potential backup point guard or third point guard on the roster. I am curious what the Rockets are going to do when it comes to their bench lineup, because Josh Christopher is a guy that I think is the perfect 6-man for this team, and I think he's a guy that could honestly sit really well with Taitai Washington. The problem being both of them are really solid mid-range shooters, and they like to get into that mid-range area, which can sometimes clog up the backcourt. Taitai is a very high-value pick. I think obviously you get any guy from Kentucky, they could end up bursting onto the scene. We see it with Tyrese Maxey. We see it with Devin Booker. Kentucky guys always have a lot of high value and could end up popping in the league, but we've also seen the opposite where they get into the league and they don't really work out. Taitai is definitely a high value pick, but a very raw floor. I think Taitai Really could be an interesting fit on this team. I think it could be a contingency plan if KPJ doesn't work out. Also, KPJ has been dealing with injuries over the past couple of years. So I wonder where he's going to fit. I think a G League year is something that he might need. And I'm curious if Josh Christopher is going to bounce in between the starting lineup and the G League. I'd be curious on what you think about that. And by all means, let me know what you think of this draft. This was just a quick video I wanted to get out. I'm about to talk about the Kings next and probably the Knicks. And also, I think I'm going to make a video about the Hawks because I really do like the move they made to get AJ Griffin. But this was a quick video talking about the Rockets draft. I'm not mad at it. If I were to give it a ranking or a grade, I'd probably say an A-, with my least favorite pick being the Taitai Washington one. I just think there was better guys on the board that are more solid prospects, but I understand the upside. My favorite pick was Tari Eason. And hey, Jabari Smith, as much as people want to talk about how he looked pissed off, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, and that's something I want this Rockets team to have. I want there to be a guy that's grit. I want them to go win. And I know Jalen Green's got a dog in him. Like, and I'm going to put a picture up of that meme. I can't, dude, bro. But I think I really do like this draft. I think it would be an A-. I'm not going to say A+, but I do like the upside moving into this year. I just want to see what would their win projections be. I'll do a full breakdown next in a couple months when they go through free agency. But I just want to talk about this draft. I think it was one of my favorite drafts out of everybody. I do want to talk about the Thunder one because that one's a really weird draft to me. When you really start to look at how they fit as a team, it's really weird. But I think it's interesting to talk about. I think the Rockets are not going to be the worst team in the league next year. Based on this draft and what they have on paper, there's rumors that John Wall is about to get bought out. I assume Eric Gordon's going to get moved off of or potentially bought out in the next couple of days or weeks. So very interested what the Rockets do. I think they're one of the winners of the draft. I don't think they won the draft by any means. On all honesty, I think it's the Pistons. And if you're a fan of the Pistons, Rockets, let me know what you think of your draft. If you're a fan of any of these teams in the NBA, let me know what you think of your team, unless you're the Knicks, because you didn't get a single player. But thank you so much for watching. I am still on the road to 1,000 subs. I want to hit 1,000 subs. It is a big goal of mine. I've just been dealing with like hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, trying to get videos out. I am so focused on content. I want to keep making videos for you guys. So please go check out the rest of my videos. I got a bunch of things linked into the bio. I'll be on another Player's Choice Gridiron video podcast episode coming up very soon. So go check out all my links in the bio. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Be safe this summer. Have a great day.